This is your PIR for Thursday, April 7th, 2022. All the facts you need to know for the Patriot on the Go pages of the world. I hope you're doing well. If you had a good evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you may be as you're listening to this. Let's get right into it. Announcements. Yes, be sure to follow PIR on Gab, on Telegram, on Rumble, on BitChute, and check out the PIR website. All of those links, description box below. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Item 1, space weather, which is brought to us by Laura Walker of the OracleReport.com. Today, the sun is discharging the symbol of an empty hammock. We want to balance work with the other things in life and take time out for relaxation. Mars is aspecting the conjunction of Mercury and Eris, continuing the exposure of the dark side's moves. Jupiter aspects the nodes overnight at 3:45 a.m. EST and brings us divine messages today and tomorrow. Jupiter is purging off the past and preparing for the future before it makes a grand conjunction with Neptune this coming Tuesday. Jupiter conjunct Neptune in Pisces will send a spiritual wave throughout the fellowship of humanity. Today we are listening to what inspires, revives, and revigorates us and are paying attention to synchronicities and including messages from nature and animals. Oh yeah, very, very good. Things are changing. We do have to take time out for relaxation, I've talked about this before, in the past and some of our tips and tricks. Sometimes you have to disconnect from it. A lot of people do a lot of work, very busy. These are interesting times, to say the least. And you have to make sure that you make time to relax your mind and your soul and your heart and have some joy, okay? Appreciate the good things of life. And again, that is the entire goal of what we talk about with preparations and everything, is to being able to live a happy, keyword happy, and victorious life during tumultuous times. It's possible. You know how I know it's possible? Because people have done it for millennia. Yeah. So anyway, let's get right into the next items. Very good space weather, as always. Okay, item 2, economics, currencies, cryptos, equities, and precious metals. No major changes, up or down of 10% or more. Again, markets just flatline, man. They are hanging on for all they have. I'm looking at all the markets around the world, and we're basically looking at even less than 1%. We're looking at 0 percentages all across the board. It's amazing to look at the tight control that the Rothschild banking system has right now. It looks like Europe is slipping down, though. We do have some, over 1%, some 2% moves in the European markets, all to the red. Now, why is that? Let's think about this. Oh, how about the crazy Russian sanctions they put on? The EU actually voted yesterday to ban all coal imports. And they made it a thing from Russia. This is crazy. They're already refusing to buy Russian oil or gas with rubles, so they will go without. And any coal-fired plants or industries they have, now they've cut all that off. Where do they think they're going to get all this stuff? I mean, this is it's amazing to watch. It's unbelievable. Again, I questioned yesterday, what do they think they're going to do? Defeat Russia and just take it all? I don't know. Crazy. Anyway, we are watching the destruction, the black swan event unfold of the entire global economic system and a shift to asset-backed currency, primarily gold and other assets. We've been talking about it for years. A lot of people have. There were two visions, primary ones, of what's called the Great Reset. And people ask about this all the time. You know the New World Order, Klaus Schwab, Great Reset. You will own nothing and be happy, right? Yeah, that was their reset. They were going to take everything from everybody, and we'd basically be like serfs on the land of the elite all over the world, and we would be happy. Oh my goodness! I saw a quote yesterday. One of Klaus Schwab's like right hand guys actually said in a meeting, he was talking about how things weren't going as fast as they wanted with the Great Reset and all of this. He said, but for now, he said, we will keep them happy and distracted with video games and drugs and just keep them dumbed down like that. I mean, literally, these people think us, the population of the world, and I'm talking about everybody in the world other than them, are just useless eaters and ignorant. Seriously, and sometimes they go out there and just say it, and it's getting to the point of getting very, very bold about it. And there's a lot of people in political positions in all nations who feel this way. They feel this way, and they actually see everyone as basically just an ignorant, useless eater. It's really weird. I mean, when people get into these positions of power and they feel this way, but this is nothing new. We talk about historical replication, people of great corruption. It seems to be a rarity where you have a truly benevolent and good person rise to a high position of power. And when they do, they're promptly brought down by those who are of ill intent. Case in point, Donald J. Trump. He didn't want his informed wars. He wanted to make America great again. He wanted to help the American public. He wanted to restore law and order. And it made the left lose their freaking minds. Like, how dare you say you're going to make America great again? How dare you say there's going to be accountability and a return to law? How dare you support these filthy masses? Really, that's exactly what we saw happen here in the United States. But this isn't over. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But yeah, the battle for the world's dominance and wealth, it's already the balance is already tipped. Basically what we're watching is the House of Cards in slow motion. Those real slow motion cameras that they do really cool scenes, like shooting an arrow through an apple, or all water and all these real slow motion things. That's what we're watching. The House of Cards has been knocked down, and we're watching it in like ultra slow motion. We can watch every little card fall, like this cascade, and it's all coming down, and nothing can stop it. Once that House of Cards begins to fall, it's fallen. That's it. And it has begun, but again, it's like in ultra slow motion. But hang in there. Just know the outcome of this, because it has begun, and it cannot be stopped. So again, another reminder, be vigilant, because there are monies moving around the world that no one sees, what's called off-ledger transactions. Okay, people are quickly divvying up money and doing things because the Khazarian mafia is being cut off in Ukraine. That was a major money laundering operation going on there, and there have been big funds shut down. They're saying some Delaware corporations that a lot of politicians have stakes in. Of course, that's where Biden claims his home is and is from there. Some of these big corporations, trust, etc., all of a sudden are drying up. They're not getting money anymore. Where was that money coming from? Let me think. Maybe a big money laundering operation out of Ukraine through the Khazarian mafia. Yeah. But anyway, so there are huge amounts of money moving around the world. Perhaps you have positioned yourself in certain assets, certain investments, certain things that you could possibly be surprised soon in the outcome of some of these things. Because again, like I said, money's moving. Money's moving, even though you look at all the markets and it looks like it's frozen with liquid nitrogen. It's like it's not going anywhere. Let's take a look at cryptos here. Oh my goodness, what do we got? Cryptos, yeah, basically flatlined also. And again, that's because of a lot of control. The cryptos, the blockchain and all this, people break away from the banks, and it worked. People became wealthy and are continuing to. And, it's a lot of upward possibility here with cryptos. But what we have is large central banks, governments, etc., going all in on cryptos and literally buying hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin and other cryptos at a time, holding them, dumping them, doing all kinds of things. And just the way they took control of the stock market, they're attempting to do so also with the crypto market, but to much less success. And it will not prevail, because the thing about a blockchain is, it's all visible. So it's not like they can hide it. Attempts have been made, but it has been made very obvious that there's truly no lack of transparency when it comes to this, which is the way it was supposed to be. So anyway, be of good cheer, okay? If you're invested in something possibly exotic, possibly unconventional, you're probably sitting in a good spot right now. That is all I'm going to say about that. So, moving right along, let's go to, so stay positive. Let's go to our next item, item 3, geopolitical. Yep. Here in the United States, I usually never report on Clown World, but there's just some very interesting things. Biden's FEC nominee has admitted that her name is on legal documents attesting that voting machines used in Georgia illegally switched votes from one candidate to another. And that one candidate to another was Donald J. Trump switched to Joe Biden. And she has admitted this, that, she was part of that and attested to that investigation. So I seriously doubt if the Democrats will move forward with that. We'll see. Look at this. Breaking. Arizona Attorney General releases Maricopa County 220 election interim report. Individuals are going to be prosecuted for election fraud. So that continues on. We never have seen the full report on that either. It was being blocked by some Republicans in Arizona. Republicans. Look at this. Now this is the primary reason I'm reporting on Clown World today, because I got a chuckle out of something. It looks like Governor Abbott down in Texas, he has said that we are going to, in Texas, they're going to be taking all illegal immigrants that have been dropped in Texas cities and towns by the Biden administration. He has dedicated up to 900 private charter buses. He's going to load them all up from all these cities and all these towns in Texas because they were illegally dropped there and they crossed the border illegally. He's going to pay for the state of Texas and ship them all to Washington, D.C., and the buses are going to let them out on the steps of the Capitol building. I kid you not. They're doing this. Also, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, now this guy's pretty good, says he is also going to be busing all illegal immigrants that are dumped in the state of Florida to Biden's home state of Delaware. See, because what they've been doing, the Biden administration has been letting hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants across the border, giving them smartphones, giving them debit cards with money on them. They've been putting them on buses and they've been taking them to Republican-controlled cities and towns and states and just dropping them off. That's what the Democrats have been doing. All these illegals, unvetted individuals from all over the world, they're just dropping them off in Republican areas. So the Republican Republican governors are like, okay, guess what? Return to sender. And they're going to send them all up to Washington and Delaware and a couple other. I saw a list of cities they're going to take them to. So, yeah. Nancy Pelosi, you're about to have some new residents there in your homeless area there in downtown San Francisco. So, anyway, I just got a kick out of that, so I wanted to read that. All right, let's get on to the other things. the big geopolitical things that's going on with Ukraine and Russia and the world. Moscow has accused Kiev of backpedaling in the peace talks. Apparently, they had face-to-face talks. Well, not apparently, they did a week ago in Turkey, and Ukraine agreed to some things and said, "Okay, we agree to these, and we will do this." And they signed off some stuff. So now Ukraine has sent in their paperwork on all this, their formal agreement to Moscow, and it's all different. So everything they agreed to, Ukraine agreed to, and Russia accepted in their peace talks, Ukraine has sent in, and they've changed everything. And it's totally opposite of everything they sat down and agreed to. So that is backpedaling by the Ukrainians. I'm sure they're being done, as being told to do that by the West, without a doubt. Now also, the Russia has been having trouble with the UN because they demanded twice to have a special session on this Bucha, what they're calling the Bucha massacre, right? And the United Nations says no. The chairperson of the Security Council said, no, we're not going to talk about that. Russia wants an independent investigation, and the UN is saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to let Ukraine investigate it. And now they're put out all these calls, United States and everyone else, that Russia needs to be thrown out of the Human Rights Council. They want to kick Russia out. And Russia came out and said the possible suspension of Russia from the UN Human Rights Council threatens to destroy the very foundation of the current multilateral system. The first deputy permanent representative to the UN said ahead of Thursday's vote by the UN General Assembly on the matter, if they actually today vote to throw Russia out, I tell you what, this is not going to be good. He wrote, the ambassador wrote, he said, this is a premeditated tactical move, which in his opinion has nothing to do with either Russia's attack on Ukraine nor the alleged human rights violation by Moscow, as these claims are far from being verified and proven. However, he warned the motion, if accepted, risks devastating consequences for the UN system. He says Russia plays an important balancing role. Its removal from the HRC will deprive developing countries of a vocal and powerful defender. That's why Western countries are keen to do it and strike the balance in their favor, the official explained. In his words, he said the West is trying to undermine UN institutions behind the smokescreen of punishing Russia. By doing so, they risk to destroy the foundation of current multilateral system, which emerged after World War II and has been saving the world from World War III, he underlined. He also pointed out the fact that in 2018, during Donald Trump's presidency, the U.S. withdrew from the Council and constantly belittled its role. Therefore, Russia argues Washington can't be considered a champion of the human rights case, a Human Rights Council case, since they withdrew. And he says, in knowing the bleak U.S. human rights record and the shameful practice blackmailing the International Criminal Court for trying to make U.S. soldiers accountable for their heinous crimes abroad, Washington is the last one to be moralizing others on human rights, he wrote. And it goes on. I love this country. I'm an American. I'm a patriot. Patriot Intel Report. I love the truth. I love the truth. I hate injustice. I hate hypocrisy. And there comes a point, there comes a time, if your government is acting in an illegal, inhumane way, that you have to stand up and say, wait a minute, this is wrong. The famous quote, evil prevails if men of goodwill do nothing. Men, let me add, men and women of goodwill do nothing. And sometimes you have to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute. This thing that they're saying in Bucha, that they will not even let anyone investigate it. Russia has evidence that the Ukrainians did it. They even have the names of some of the Ukrainian soldiers who did this. They actually put out a mission statement the Ukrainians did, said that after the Russians left, they were going through with a purge to clean and purge the area of traitors and collaborators. And I'll remind everybody, a lot of those photographs of the alleged people killed by Russians have white armbands on. Those were significations to the Russians that, hey, we're not against you, civilians. But then what happened? The Ukrainians came in, saw everyone with those white armbands, and killed them. That's the truth. And then they photographed it and said, "Oh no, look what Russia has done." And whoever did it, I wasn't there. The best evidence I can see is that the Ukrainians did it. But you know what? Again, I can't confirm that. There's been no independent investigation. The truth will come out someday when that is allowed. But the fact it's being blocked by Ukraine, the United States, like, oh no, and Britain, no, you can't investigate this. Come on. I mean, seriously. And, I just want to remind everybody again, I love this nation. I'm a patriot. But I just want to remind everyone, okay, war and what happens. You may be old enough to remember the shock and awe campaign that started in 2003 when the Iraqi war began. I think it was March of 2003. President Bush was the president at the time. Is called Operation Iraqi Freedom. And what they did, they started off with a bombing campaign. It was called Shock and Awe. People watch film of it from a distance on television, and it's like, oh my goodness. And they bragged about how they dropped more munitions during the Shock and Awe campaign that the U.S. dropped the entire time of World War II. It was a massive amount. But what they didn't actually report on, they were just going over Baghdad and different cities doing this. During the Shock and Awe campaign, during like a 2-month period there, the first 2 months, it was reported accurately afterwards by independent organizations that 7,186 Iraqi civilians were killed by U.S. bombing. 7,186. And, people back then, there were different people saying this was unacceptable. This is war crime. As a matter of fact, Madeleine Albright, who recently passed, she had a famous quote where she was doing an interview. You may have seen this. Many people have, and many people remembered it. She was interviewed because we had placed sanctions on Iraq. And the sanctions, they were hard. They couldn't get medication. They couldn't get foods. They couldn't get anything. It was hard sanctions. And it was estimated that 2 million Iraqi children over a few year period actually died because of the sanctions. Children, because some of them starved to death. Some of them died because they couldn't get medical help or medications, etc. And they actually died. And this was pretty well documented also, 2 million. And she was asked in the interview, about this. She didn't deny it. When the woman interviewed her and said, 2 million Iraqi children died over these sanctions. Was it worth it? And Madeleine Albright, without skipping a beat or even blinking, looked right at the camera and said, oh yeah, without a doubt, it was totally worth it. 2 million children. And it was totally worth them dying to achieve the political goals of the United States. Okay, so and I'm not saying one thing about any of that. I'm just putting these facts out there because we need balance. Okay, we can't be blind hypocrites about things. We have to be critical thinkers. Critically think about things, observe things, know things, be aware of things. Or else we're just robots. We're sheep. We don't want to be that. There's too much of that blind following today in the world on all sides. All right? The entire world population needs to think a little bit more critically and be a little bit more responsible for their fellow man and woman. Already, let's see. As stated, I will be playing right now the daily Ministry of Defense report from the Russian military that's put out, and this is one that has English that you can listen to it and has all the images directly from them, and this is highly censored around the world. I mean, if you live in Europe somewhere and you're listening to this, or in the United States, it's probably PIR is probably the only place you're going to see this. All right, because it is just so highly censored, because they only want one side of the information war being heard. So anyway, without further ado, here we go. The daily briefing from the Russian military Ministry of Defense.
Units of Donetsk People's Republic troops continuing their offensive have completely cleared Sladkaya of nationalists. The armed forces of the Russian Federation strike at the assets of the military infrastructure of Ukraine. During the night, high-precision air and sea-based missiles destroyed 4 fuel storage bases near Nikolaev, Zaporozhye, Kharkov and Chuguyev, from which Ukrainian forces were supplied with fuel near Kharkov, Nikolaev and Donbass. Operational tactical aviation hit 29 military assets of Ukraine, among them 2 command posts, 1 radar for target detection and guidance of the S-300 anti-aircraft missile system near Kurakovo, 7 artillery batteries, 1 missile artillery weapons and ammunition depot, as well as 10 strong points and areas of Ukrainian military equipment concentration. Russian air defense means shot down 6 unmanned aerial vehicles near Novoselovka 2, Chervonaya, Novogradovka, Ilovaisk, Hartzisk. In total, 125 Ukrainian aircraft and 93 helicopters, 413 unmanned aerial vehicles, 227 anti-aircraft missile systems, 1,987 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 218 multiple launch rocket systems, 866 field artillery and mortars, as well as 1,894 units of special military vehicles were destroyed during the operation.
Okay, as you know, ongoing situation, we will be watching this closely. Interesting day coming up. That is May 9th, which is known as Victory Day in Russia. And there are some indications that they'd like to have this operation cleaned up as much as they could, possibly completed by that date. Don't know if we will see that or not, but we're going to watch this closely. Alrighty. Again, prayers to all of the innocents. May God protect them and save them from harm, and may God give to those of evil intent what they deserve. Alrighty, item 4, Earth changes. Yeah, taking a look at things here around the world. Yeah, deadly storms leave trail of destruction across the southern U.S. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. A lot of tornadoes. You know, a lot of families down in Texas, and there's a lot of cleanup. They're making, some decisions that maybe we should have a storm shelter. A very, very good idea. Let's see. Yeah, more strange temperatures. Yeah, more strange temperatures coming up. You know, it's very cold in the west right now, and it's going to be warmer in the east, but that's going to shift through as days go by. So not a lot of major stuff other than the heavy storms down south in Texas. You guys be safe down there. It appears to be a violent spring on all levels. Alrighty, move on to item 5, tip of the day. Tip of the day I have for you is exactly, as it is many times tied into earth changes. If you do live in an area that's prone to tornadoes, you know, if you don't have a shelter, if you have a lawn, if you have an area to do a shelter, you actually should. And yes, they have some pre-made shelters that you can excavate out an area, drop them down in. Some of them aren't very big, just a place to safely get in the time of a storm. But even if you can't afford that, literally, you can go online and find plans for it. As long as you have a shovel and some time and the land to put it on, you can, pretty inexpensively construct your own storm shelter. And it doesn't have to be a structure that's never used. You can actually use it for a root cellar also, to put things in and store things in from your garden. You can have multiple uses for it, but many, many times people have literally fled their homes, gone straight into these little shelters, and they've had stuff in there before, and grabbed some of their vital belongings. Also, if you have a shelter and you have a situation like that, you want to be able to have things where you can grab quickly, like important papers, wedding albums, important memoirs, things, that you can literally save if you need to. And people have gone into these shelters with their families, go lock the doors down, and after the howling winds and the roaring is over, have literally opened the doors to those, and everything is gone. Save their lives. So something to think about, if you can afford to do so, if you have the land to do so, and if you're in one of these areas, it's something you should do. Because what's the point of collecting, toys and treasures or whatever you do and having your family if you can't protect yourself, your own life, the lives of your family, possibly the lives of your friends? I don't know. And that's another thing. If you had a neighbor, you could collectively work on one together. I don't know. Something you can think about. But that's the tip of the day I have for you. If you are in one of these storm-prone areas and you're starting to see more and more of this activity, it might be a wise thing to do, because you don't have to be hit directly by one of these major tornadoes to be harmed by it. You can be on the outskirts of it, and the winds can still devastate your house and throw very dangerous projectiles through windows, through your walls, etc. So that's my tip of the day. Something to think about if it applies to you. Okay? So that is my tip of the day. Last but not least, let's go to the prophetic word of the day by Doug Addison. Doug has for us today on April 7th, 2022. Watch for the Lord to speak clearly and confirm things. Very good. Clearly and confirm things. That's very, very good. We need that right now. So that's it, everyone. Short, sweet, and to the point for today. Till tomorrow, everyone, be well, stay alert, and remember, where we go one, we go all. God bless.